Welcome, everybody. My name is Aman Luthra. Welcome to this webinar on the topic of key concepts of effective product management. I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to Dr. Weislin and his team, Prabha, who's on the call, along with Vidya, for sharing this opportunity to interact with everybody on the webinar today. Uh, Before I start, I will give a quick one about myself. And even before that, as I messaged as well, please note that the webinar is recorded and it is also posted on various media, including social media. So if someone has any concerns, then they may choose to put their video and audio off. So a little bit about myself. My name is Aman Luthra. I like to describe myself as a lifelong learner with over 15 years of techno-commercial experience. I've been blessed to have had the opportunities of working with fairly large corporations and also startups, and have also been fortunate enough to do a couple of startups of my own. Likewise, I have had the opportunity of leading fairly large teams across functions and products, and of course, different channels like B2B, B2G, B2C, which is business to business, business to government, and business to consumer, driving value across. And have also done hands-on jobs in the beginning of my career, including requirement gathering to pre-sales, a little bit of business development as well. So as far as myself, I have always liked teaching or training. Uh, and learning from people through the process. And I acquired the skill from my grandfather, who he was known for teaching kids after coming back from his job, purely out of his passion for teaching. As far as my qualification is concerned, I am uh, an MBA. I've done two MBAs. I mean, one as recent as about 3 or 4 years back from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade in which was more like an executive postgraduate diploma in international business, which in a way coincides with the name of the organization that we are representing here. Uh, and I'm also a safe practice consultant, so Scale Agile practice consultant. I've been practicing it for um, nearly 2.5 years now. Have done close to over 100 trainings, and back in the days in India, where my roots are, I would, in my free time, work with universities and colleges to talk about topics such as entrepreneurship and career paths with college graduates. So that's a little bit about myself. Uh, Coming to the subject at hand. Yeah, coming to the subject at hand. So, do you know that 95% of products fail within the first 2 years of launch? This is a statistic which is also reaffirmed by Professor Clayton from Harvard. Of course, this could be owed to a lot of things, and we'll attempt to learn a few uh, to address, or I would say to beat some of those odds uh, uh, in the process over the next 1 hour or so. Uh, Talking a little bit about what we are going to be covering over the next 1 hour or so. So I've divided that in two broad parts. The first one is going to be about market segmentation. So, of course, this is a topic which is closely associated with the world of product development and marketing. So, we will be going through certain subsets of that, starting with how the segmentation as a concept evolved, uh, introduction, to market segmentation in terms of the definition of it. Why do we need market segmentation? How does it help? We'll learn about various kinds of market segmentation that we could possibly engage in. Some of them are highlighted here, including demographic, geographic, psychographic, and behavioral. Uh, I've added another slide on post segmentation as well. So many a times where there is a gap is post segmentation, what's going to happen. So I will try to share a bit of insight on the targeting as well. So that's the next step, a natural step post segmentation. So we'll invest some time on that. The second portion of the subject at hand today is design thinking. So there is going to be an introduction to the subject on the same lines as market segmentation. We'll also be going through the design thinking principles and the process of design thinking. Uh, and then we will talk a little bit about some of the tools which can support us when we attempt to work with design thinking model, such as personas, empathy maps, and journey maps. So yeah, I mean, we will any which ways be keeping 10 to 15 minutes at the end for any questions and answers. So feel free to pen them down. You can put them in the chat, or we could take those questions at the end of the webinar as well. Of course, related to the subject to keep it focused. So let's start with the webinar and the subject at hand. So one of the important tools is market segmentation. Let's dive into the world of market segmentation. As we know, this topic is like the cornerstone of effective product management, and it has evolved significantly over time. I mean, the way we used to look at segmentation 20 years back, 30 years back, is completely different from the way we look at it now. And if you would notice at the bottom left, I have consciously written uh, STP. S, of course, is referring to segmentation. But when we talk segmentation in the world of product and marketing, it's usually segmentation, which is followed by targeting and then positioning. We will definitely be touching upon T, as I said in the beginning, but P is something which falls largely in the world of marketing, which is not the subject at hand today. Of course, we could talk about that some other day. Right. So let's start by looking at this wonderful quote from the marketing genius, or you can call him marketing guru or management guru, Sir Philip Kotler. So he says, no company in its right mind tries to sell to everyone. So irrespective of the product solution that we are making, we are selling, promoting, it wouldn't be right to say that we should target or we should sell it to everybody. For those who don't know who this gentleman is, let me give you a quick one. So he's known for, of course, a lot of books. The primary ones being Marketing Management and Principles of Marketing, and known for writing textbooks on this subject. And his textbooks have sold over 3 million copies in 20 languages, uh, and I mean, they are studied, read like a marketing gospel in over 50 countries. So we can trust him for what he speaks, especially on the subject that we know. Uh, so how has marketing helped us evolve segmentation as a subject? So we're going to look at the timeline from pre-1880s to the present times, which is sort of referred to as a bucket, which is post 1980s. So over the 100 years, or more than 100 years, how it has evolved. So back in the days when we talk pre-1880s, we would have smaller local players, small target markets, or user groups. We would make products targeting presumably all of the users in that group because there were logistics challenges. You would probably be in a way able to reach a certain kind of audience, which is relatively smaller in size. And we could possibly be having hundreds of fragments, if I may say that, in every state. So regional players, regional products, target markets are smaller. So like Mr. Kotler said, I mean, it's actually the opposite. So those are the times when we were targeting everybody in that smaller user group, which evolved into mass marketing post 1880s and pre 1920. So this is where also there was an evolution in terms of the transportation systems, and the economies were much more unified. They were evolved. We had relatively more number of branded goods coming into the market, which were sold beyond a certain region, like nationally. We had Ford at that time, as an example, which was known for Model T back in the days. Um, then it evolved into segmentation, which is where it was first known properly or done properly, which was in a way a game changer for many businesses. So businesses at that time started to divide their customer base into relatively smaller and more defined segments. And based on those segments, they started to work around products. To support those segments, which were tailored for their needs. And those segments would have shared characteristics. They would have shared needs and preferences. Of course, we'll learn about what that segmentation really is in the future slides. And by doing that, the businesses were actually able to improve their ROI significantly. And also, I mean, this subject or this focus helped them to have improved or better customer engagement for the products that they were promoting, which then evolved into hyper segmentation. As the name suggests, this is where we are sort of going much deeper into the segmentation. Technology has enabled us to go that level where we are now using technology to slice and dice the markets into incredibly precise segments. So, of course, there are still products which are relevant to bigger audiences. But then there are products which are very, very niche, and they are able to target those niche customer groups because of the technology that has enabled us to sort of do that level of hyper segmentation. It's simply put, it's more like using a laser over a broad brush. So you are able to sort of pinpoint what kind of users you want to target. You can even target as basic as an individual as a target customer using those technologies. To give you an example, if we talk about social media these days, if we talk about Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, which is, of course, one of the sources of digital marketing for all of us, including the Google Pay, PPC ads, etc. If you do those ads, they will give you options to target people who are moving into a new city. They would give options for you to target people who are getting engaged, and so they would give you options for people who have birthday on a certain day. They would give you options to target people who are visiting your website. Of course, that's where cookies come into play. They would also allow us to work with lookalike audiences. So if we have users visiting our website, if we have targeted certain audiences, then we could be able to target similar audiences, which are called as lookalike audiences. So we are going the way or the route of hyper segmentation, and that is how the segmentation has evolved over a period of time. So, a little bit on the definition of market segmentation. So, what is market segmentation? It is a critical strategic tool in marketing and product development, which involves dividing the broader target market into distinct manageable segments or groups. So, when we say manageable, if we are taking this up as a subject, as an activity within the organization that we are a part of, then it would only make sense if we are able to sort of take this to the next level. It's not a research exercise in most cases for the for-profit organizations. So if we are investing time to do the market segmentation exercise, it would be relevant to have distinct as well as manageable segments or groups which we could possibly consider targeting in the next step. These segments are having similar characteristics, needs, or preferences. So what essentially we are saying here is that each segment would have something similar, which means that they could be targeted based on that similarity, whether it is characteristics, needs, or preferences. And of course, we dive deeper into this as we talk a little bit about what kinds of market segmentation we are looking at. What is the purpose of market segmentation? What is the role of this subject? So, market segmentation is foundation for effective marketing. It guides product development. It guides pricing, which is a subject in its own, promotion and distribution decisions. So, if we are able to sort of slice and dice the markets vis-a-vis the products that we already have or the products that we attempt to create, the more clear we are about the target group, which is a function of the market segmentation, the better decisions we are able to take for the success of the product. And it also enables personalized messaging or communication that resonate with the specific customer groups. You would agree that the messaging that would work for uh, I mean, given the context of the corporate world, the messaging that would work for the C-suite members uh, has to be different from the messaging that would work for, let's say, the frontline business development executives. So we need to embrace that as a fact, and that's where this subject supports. What are the benefits? It helps companies better understand their customers. It enables tailored marketing strategies and product offerings. It helps improve resource allocation and, as an outcome, improves the marketing return on investment, and it enhances competitiveness and customer satisfaction. So we'll learn about how these benefits are, reaped with the breakup of market segmentation, which is various kinds of market segmentations that we could do. Uh, some of them, as I said, are highlighted here. So we could do demographic segmentation, which is about a lot of things, including age, gender, uh, I mean, earnings, etc. So we'll be going through each of these in the subsequent slides. Geographic segmentation, location specific, psychographics, and behavioral. Of course, we could have other segmentations approaches which are very, very specific, like occasion based, as I said. It could be based on the birthday of somebody. It could be based on certain event, certain festival. It could be need based, which could be temporary needs, etc., etc. So let's learn about each of these segmentation approaches a little in detail. And I'll try to attempt to give you examples of these segmentation as we go along. So when we talk about the types of market segmentation, the first segmentation technique that we talk about is demographics, which is also one of the common segmentation strategies adopted by many organizations, irrespective of the media that they look at. So demographics is considering segmenting the market by the following, starting with age. So when we say age, we essentially talking about categorizing individuals into different age groups. Uh, their preferences, needs, and behaviors, of course, are different according to the age. So they change with the age, and hence it's relevant to consider having age-based segmentation. So if you were representing, for an example, a beverage company, you know that the users which are like kids would have different preferences of the kind of beverages that they like. For teens, it would be probably different. For adults, it would be probably different. So that's an example which would make sense for an age-based demographic segmentation. We could also look at gender-based segmentation, which means, separating the market based on consumers that are male female, or other gender identities. This also has a significant role in influencing the product choices based upon what gender you belong to. It would be more relevant in specific industries such as maybe cosmetics. So if we are a cosmetics brand, we might have to target grooming needs of different genders with different products. We've seen in the past that many companies who were focusing on a common product targeting all the genders consciously chose to sort of bifurcate and specifically create products targeting other genders, or I mean male, female, and other genders as well. So likewise, we could do segmentation based on income. So this helps us identify potential customers' purchasing power and preferences for the products and services which are inspired by that or influenced by that. So there are products that we create which are relevant for masses, and there are products which are very, very niche, I mean, you can call them luxury, which are, of course, taken up by specific groups with certain income levels. So, to give you an example, if we were a luxury car manufacturer, we would presumably target a high income individual or a household trying to offer premium vehicles that offer advanced features, and people are willing to pay a price for that. We could also target or segment the users based on the education levels. So consider the educational background and at- I mean attainment of consumers, and dividing the segment based on that. It is more relevant for products or services that may align with consumers' level of education. We could be talking about businesses which are related to education. I mean, a lot of edtech businesses. So are relevant. It's relevant for them to pick up segmentation based on education. So to give you an example, if we talk about a university, and I mean, if we talk about a college, their uh, target would be sort of prospective students with tailored marketing campaigns. So you would target the postgraduate program to only children who have graduated, to give you an example. So makes sense to segment your customers based on their education levels in certain cases. We could also be looking at the possible family size, which is another interesting way of segmenting the customers. So when we talk about the family size, it's about sort of grouping consumers based upon the number of people out there in their household. Uh, it can also influence the types and quantities of products that the consumers purchase. So, I mean, if we talk about, let's say, relatively bigger families or multiple children in a certain age group, they could be procuring products which are like bulk packs. Those SKUs which offer those bulk quantities. So, for example, if there is a family with two children uh, in under five age category, then they would likely pick up. I mean, their mothers would probably go to Costco and pick up large packs of diaper versus sort of going to a neighborhood grocery store to pick up a smaller 1-2 unit pack. And I can say that because I'm a father of two. So yeah, we could. So that's the demographic market segmentation. We could also look at the geographic segmentation, which is based on location, climate, or urban rural. Let's see what this means by location, climate, or urban rural with an example. So if we talk about the location-based segmentation, we could be targeting consumers based on their geographic location, such as country, county, city, or even neighborhoods. Tech tools do allow us to sort of ultimately target people based upon even neighborhoods, postcode wise as well. Consumer preferences, behaviors, and even the needs, you can say, would vary largely depending upon where they live, where they hail from. So, if, for example, if we were a retail chain, we could be operating out of the cities like New York, London, and we could also be operating in countryside locations. Now, it's possible and logical to have the SKUs stored in the store based upon the needs of the geography that we have based that store in. So it would be relevant. So SKUs could be planned in that way, given the segmentation that we have done. Uh, we could also look at geographic segmentation from a climate perspective. So you could say that the prevailing weather conditions in different regions is also something that would influence the products and services that the people might want to purchase. For an example, if you are targeting an air conditioning manufacturer, you may focus its marketing efforts on regions with hot and humid climates. It's likely that you will not cover target geographies which are colder, close to North Pole. So climate is another way of considering segmentation from a geographic standpoint. You could do urban rural as well, which is distinguishing between the consumers living in cities or the countryside areas, like I also touched upon when we talked uh, the retail example. So people from urban places versus the rural places are likely going to have different lifestyles, different needs, also purchase behaviors. You might say that uh, people in cities, like bigger cities, are sort of focused on procuring smaller SKUs because they have access, whereas the other ones who don't have access. Sorry. Right. All right. So, moving forward, we could look at psychographic segmentation and behavioral segmentation. So, when we talk psychographic, we are talking lifestyle based, which is consumers based on their, dividing the consumers based on their routines, activities, and choices. And people with similar lifestyles often share needs. Their needs are sort of common. For example, fitness enthusiasts. So if we are a fitness brand, we would likely target the people who are fitness enthusiasts. We could target people based on the values. So people could have similar core beliefs, ethics, and principles, and brands could likely align with their belief systems, their offerings. So, for example, eco-friendly solutions or products are targeted at those people with the core belief who are concerned about the environmental conservation or ethical sourcing. Um, Likewise, vegans is another legitimate or logical example in that direction. Interests. So this is about grouping consumers based on their hobbies, passions, etc. And if we look at any example of segmenting consumers based on interest, we could be talking about an outdoor adventure company who might have various products targeting individuals who are passionate about maybe biking, hiking, camping, things like that. We could be talking about segmentation based on personality. So we know that there are different personality types. So people who are introvert, people who are extrovert, there are people who are risk-taking, and different personalities likely respond differently to different product offerings. So if we are targeting, let's say, thrill-seeking, people who are extroverts, then the communication is likely going to be different. If you are, let's say, a travel agency. Likewise, if you are targeting introverts, we might be looking at targeting with communication, which is offering sort of serene vacations for those personality types. Uh, if we look at behavioral segmentation, we could target people based on their purchase behaviors. It's about how consumers are making buying decisions, including their frequency, the volume that they purchase, timings of their purchases. So if we are a supermarket, we could be having segments such as frequent shoppers, occasional shoppers, bulk buyers. Uh, Likewise, we could target people based on the usage rates. So usage rate is another way of dividing your consumers. It helps us examine how often the consumer uses the product or service. So if we are a mobile app development company who has developed, let's say, a gaming app, we could be segmenting based on the amount of time spent on the app by kinds of users and distinguish them uh, as heavy users, moderate users, or light users. We could also do behavioral segmentation based on loyalty. So we could assess consumers' commitment to a brand or a product and segment them like that. So they are usually, from a segmentation perspective, called as brand loyalists. We could have switchers, we could have occasional users. So to give you an example, if we are an airline company, we could have people who, for their brand loyalty, always choose a particular airline. So those are like brand loyalists. We could have people who are always looking for best deals, so they could be switchers. We could have people who are occasional travelers for specific regions, so they could be targeted at as occasional users. So these were the four broader types of market segmentation that we usually talk about. And if we talk about what next, so we could be looking at a subject of targeting. So post segmentation targeting. So which is a combination of selecting the most attractive market. So we've done the segmentation, we've broken the market down into various groups based on whatever was relevant in our context or in our organization context. So now it's the step where we are sort of selecting them based upon what is most attractive in terms of the products that we offer or the products that we attempt to create. And the reason it is given importance is that not all the segments are equally valuable or suitable to your business, as highlighted by uh, the gentleman in the beginning as well. So some provide more growth opportunities or better align with the products or services that we have. So it's not just about who do we target as we see now. There could be certain areas of growth. There could be certain areas which are sort of going down the ladder as well. Uh, the second thing to look here is product and service customization. So uh, after we have segmented the markets, we could be tailoring our products or services to specific segments, which will, of course, enhance their appeal and they'll be a little more competitive in terms of being accepted by the users that we are targeting. So if we talk about, let's say, a coffee chain, and now they could be sort of they could be working around their menu based upon various segments such as health conscious people or gourmet coffee enthusiasts, and the messaging will likely be a function of that. So which is the next step? So messaging and positioning. So you could be crafting communication which resonate with the segments that we have created in the last step. The messages should address the needs of those segments that we are targeting, and if we could address the pain points through our communication, we are likely going to have some traction in that case. So, for example, if we are an automobile manufacturer, I mean, we have to target users based upon, let's say, safety. So there is a segment which is safety conscious. The messaging would be probably around the safety features. On the other side, there could be users who are adventure seekers. So our communication would likely be completely different. It could be about the off-road capabilities, et cetera, around that. All right, so that was the first part, which was market segmentation. I understand that we have a paucity of time here, but I'm trying to make sure that I go at a pace where I cover all the points and I also don't miss the points and go at a reasonable pace so that it is understood well by anybody who has no idea about the subject or are trying to understand this subject for the first time. So I request you to please bear with that. Uh, yeah. So moving forward, we talk about the second part of the subject, which is design thinking. So in design thinking, let's just look at the definitions first before we delve a little deeper into this. So what is design thinking? It is a human-centered approach to problem solving. Uh, uh, what does it involve? It involves empathy, ideation. Empathy, as we know, is about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. We'll be delving deep into whatever we see on the slide, anyways. Prototyping and testing to create innovative products and solutions. It helps us foster a mindset of trying to better understand the user needs and then, of course, address those needs and challenges. Uh, a little bit on the user-centered design, which is relevant to this subject. So end users are at the forefront of the design process. I think this is given enough importance in the subject of design thinking because at the end of the day, we are creating products for the users. So if we don't focus on the users, we are likely going to build products which may be great, but if it doesn't solve the need of a user, then it may likely not succeed, which is why 95% of the products don't succeed. Probably that's one of the reasons. It leads to products and solutions that are more intuitive, effective, and satisfying for the users. It reduces the risk of creating products that miss the mark or fail to meet the user expectations. Why do we need design thinking? What's its role? It aligns the product development process with the needs of the users. Very, very critical. It also helps in prioritizing features and improvements based on the user insights. And it enables the managers, the product managers or the program managers, to create products that not only solve problems, but also delight users, driving business success. So when we are building products, we usually talk about the level of the need that we are able to address. So whether it is we are solving the customer need, whether we are delighting the customer, whether the customers are excited, whether they become our advocates based upon the product and service which they have received from us. So all of those things. So let's delve a little deeper into the subject now. So what are those principles and processes which drive the design thinking, and how does that process actually happen? I mean, there are four principles that we talk about here, which correspond to the process of design thinking as well. I've tried to explain it in a fairly simpler manner so that it is understood well, I mean, seems relevant to the context of most of us, most of the organizations. So, yeah. So, when we talk about the key principles which support design thinking, the first one is empathy. As I said, empathy is more about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, which is essentially understanding or deeply understanding and connecting with the needs, thoughts, even emotions of the end users or customers. So, if we are sort of designers which are trying to create a mobile banking app, instead of just focusing on the technical aspects, which by default we are going to do, what if we take an alternate approach of sort of knowing our customers well by conducting interviews and surveys with the potential users of the app or the banking customers, try to understand their needs and also their frustrations while they deal with the bank. That will actually help them understand and design a user-friendly app, which is going to address the real life challenges for our customers. And hence, empathy plays a very important role. Human-centeredness, it's critical that we prioritize the end users' experiences, and that probably is paramount. As I said, human-centered approach or user-centered approach is something which is most critical in the design thinking process, and that kind of stays on with us as a guiding principle. Uh, and of course, I mean, one of the examples to reaffirm the subject could be that if we are trying to design a workplace as an architect or a company which is into the world of architecture, then rather than, I mean, one option is that we create the best looking space. So I'm using a background that could have been designed by some of the wonderful architects. But on the other side, if we are trying to organize or create a workplace, we might be basing it on the base of the needs of the users who will be sitting there. It could be that they need ergonomic furniture. They sit for very long times. They might need natural lighting. They might need spaces to collaborate. So that's more of a human centeredness principle that we should be looking at. Third one is iteration. I mean, of course, this will ring a bell with most of us, but this is another relevant principle in the world of design thinking, because design thinking encourages the iterative approach of product development, and of course, various frameworks, including Scrum, Safe, also sort of support the iterative approach. The solutions are refined, they are improved, the feedback is sought, taken, and further improvements are done. Usually, we would go with multiple cycles of prototyping, testing. I mean, we would. Talk about the concept of MVP in this case. So MVP is a minimum viable product. So whenever we are attempting to create a product or a solution, we should likely consider going down the route of creating a minimum viable product with minimum features, a working functionality product that addresses the needs of the customers at the basic level, and then evolve. Even if we break that MVP down, which could take 3 to 6 months to create, we would likely go through those iterations like the way we go in Safe or Scrum, maybe a couple of week iterations, take the feedback from the stakeholders, continue improve feedback, etc., etc. The fourth principle is experimentation. So the value of experimentation and taking calculated risks is important to if we are attempting to create those innovative solutions using the design thinking approach. So and this is something which will hold true across industries. So we ought to experiment and with the advent of new technologies, the products are becoming redundant earlier than what we thought. The roles are becoming redundant sooner than what we can imagine. So it's extremely relevant that we stay relevant by working around innovative products and services, which is seldom possible if we don't have this underlying principle of experimentation. Now let's go through the process of design thinking, which is guided by these four principles that we talked about. So the process starts by empathizing with the customer. Now, what does it mean? So the first step is, irrespective of the product that we are trying to create, we should try and gain understanding of the problem from a user's perspective. This could happen in different ways. We could be doing active listening. We could be doing customer interviews. We could be observing our users, possible prospective users who would be using our product. There's something called as Gemba walks, which was introduced way back by Toyota production system, where the people who were sort of trying to design the product, they would actually go down the shop floor to see how the product was being made, talk to the people involved, and better understand the pain points, what's good, what's not good, what's working, what's not working, which would help us sort of better understand the problem from a user's perspective, right? So we can understand. What I've done is we can take an example of a team which is attempting to create or improve the public transportation in a city. So if there's a design team which is attempting to do that, in the empathize phase, what would they do? They would actually experience that transportation system which we are attempting to improve. What could they do? They could actually be riding buses. They could be talking to the commuters. They could be talking to the experience of the commuters, what challenges they are facing, what are the pain points, etc., etc. So that is something which should happen at the empathize stage or of the process. Once we have tried to gather our understanding by diverging and sort of going deeper into and developing our understanding, we then move to the define stage, which involves synthesizing the information gathered during the last phase, which is empathize phase, and that'll help us develop a clear statement of problem or a problem statement. So that is what define is supposed to do. So we do talk about design thinking process when we when I take up courses around Scale Agile. So there they say in the first stage we discover and then we define, which is divergent thinking at the first step, and then converging in the second step, which is defined to arrive at the problem statement at hand, which we will address in the next stages. So taking the previous example forward, if the design team has gathered their insights about traveling in buses, talking to commuters, better understood what they're really going through, the problem statement that they could have sort of arrived at the defined stage could be, how might we improve the reliability and convenience of the transportation for the commuters? And once we arrive at the problem statement, this is something which will pave the way or guide the future efforts in the ideate, prototype, and test stage for the teams. So, what is the next stage? That is ideate. What happens in that stage? So, at this stage, once because we know the problem now that we are trying to solve, you further diverge. At this stage, you try to brainstorm the ideas. And you could be as creative as you want to be. And in the example that we took, we could be brainstorming ideas such as, could we have a real-time bus tracking system? Could we have dedicated bus lanes? Could we have flexible options in terms of scheduling the rides around the public transport? So ideate is where we are sort of possibly brainstorming what could be done. And once we have done that, we move into the prototype stage, which involves taking those ideas or transforming those ideas into the tangible representations. It could be models, it could be sketches, it could be simulation. So we do that at the prototype stage. So if we have arrived at what we want to create at ideate stage in the example that we take forward, we could be prototyping the app's user interface. We could be making maybe a wireframe. And of course, further refinement will happen on what we create at this stage, whether it is a model or a wireframe or a sketch. Uh, then once we have created that, we go to the last stage, which is test. So we test those prototypes with the users to gather their feedback and insights. It's like, in a way, like, I mean, the people who are going to be actually experiencing or using the solutions or products that we are creating, getting their feedback. So we could be doing usability tests with the people who are going to be commuting or who commute to see how they interact with the app that we are trying to create. They, if I mean, the possibility is that they could say that we don't find it serving our needs, or they could say that they find the app to be very intuitive. They could be talking about more additions to that app in terms of something that will address their needs, such as can they also book tickets? Can they receive alerts if there are delays, etc., etc.? So design thinking process is something which is going to help us achieve the entire, I mean, this understanding from the empathize stage, where we are trying to better assess the needs of our consumers, to the actual prototyping and testing stage in a fairly logical, methodical manner. So that's the process. Now, what are the tools that we use to sort of better take up these processes? So there are some of the tools that I highlight here. I'll be talking about the first three in this presentation. I know we are having limited time. I know we are left with about 8 minutes. It's difficult to cover that, but I'll try to uh, cover as much as possible. So some of the tools which are recommended are persona, empathy map, journey map, story map, which support some of these steps in the design thinking process. So what is persona? Persona is like a representation of our customer, simply put. So it's a detailed and semi-fictional representation of an ideal customer or user segment. So if we are having a product which is relevant to, let's say, five types of customer who could be consuming our product, we could actually be having five personas which will pave our way, whether when we are sort of ideating, whether we are prototyping, whether we are demoing whatever we have created. We keep in mind the persona that is going to be utilizing the product. The purpose of persona is to help that it helps us understand and empathize with our target audience by creating a reliable or relatable character. The components. So, what does persona look like? We'll see that on the next slide, but it typically includes the demographics, behaviors, goals, pain points, sometimes even a name and a image, just to make it more relevant. So we'll see an example. The use cases could be we use personas to guide the product design, as I said. We could use it for the purpose of marketing strategies when we are planning our marketing strategies. We could use it for decision making by putting ourselves, in the user shoes. And as I said, in case it's in the world of software development, even the user story creation, even the system demos is when we should refer to persona while demoing the product increment. So this is an example of a persona. So I have pasted a couple of pictures here, created and pasted a couple of pictures here. The one on the bottom left is, from Miro. You must have heard about a tool, Miro. It's an infinite board. So they've got a lot of templates, which helps us ideate when we are attempting to create persona. If you've not used Miro, you could sign up there. It's a tool which provides a free trial as well. So you use that to create these brainstorming templates, which will ultimately help us create what is there on the top right. So in this example that I've taken, there is this lady who is a working mother, aged 35, with two children, with certain age 5 and 10. I am based in London. I am a freelance graphic designer and likes to upgrade my skills. I also like finding better ways to productively engage my children. From the technology standpoint, I use my phone for most of the online purchases. I use high-speed internet. So anything which we can gather from our customer's perspective, we should try and pen it down in the persona. And of course, that when we are doing that design exercise, when we are doing the story creation, feature brainstorming, or system demos, it will be highly relevant to say Julia is going to benefit by using this feature because she uses her mobile for the purchases. So those kind of conversations are helpful. Another tool is empathy map. So an empathy map is probably a next step to persona. So it is a visual tool which helps us understand users on a further deeper level by capturing their thoughts, feelings, actions, and needs. They are divided into various quadrants that we will see on the next couple of slides. So we go to the level of what they say, what they do, what they think, what they feel, what they hear around the environment. So we try and pen down further details into the environment that the user is in. And they encourage empathy and help us build a sort of a holistic understanding of our users. They are used during user research and ideation to create a shared perspective, and which of course helps us uncover the insights. So I've taken this the template that you see is taken this from Canva. But this could be made into the boxes. So the feelings, what they see, the pain points, the gain points, what they hear, what they say, what they do. So we should try and detail out things that we can vis-a-vis all of these, whether it is their behaviors, their habits, opinions, what they quote, their environment, their reactions, all of that, what they fear, what they experience. What recognition are they looking for? So try and pen down each and everything possible, given this template, which will help us gain better understanding from a user perspective. That will support the user research. I've put up an example on the slides. I've taken this up from a blog from Neil, so which is an empathy map for the learners. So it's about a student from Columbia, undergrad student, married, works in construction. What do I do? Work extremely well in the large groups and with others, utilize goal setting, thrive under pressure. The skills, both manual labor and office experience, managing finances, leading others. So This is just an example. The slides are going to be there with IBC. So if anyone is looking to get these slides, they can always reach out to IBC and they'll be happy to share, or you can reach out to me as well. I'll be happy to share these slides for your reference. The third one is Journey Map, another interesting tool which supports the improvement of the product and services. So, a journey map is a visual representation of users' end-to-end experience with product, service, or process. So, what are the stages as a part of the journey that we are creating? So, it includes stages from awareness, consideration, so being aware about a particular product, considering that, purchasing that, and post purchase. So we talk about all of these stages in the journey map. And we also talk about the touch points. So where do the customers actually interact with the company or the product through this journey from awareness to purchase? The purpose is to help the teams who are working on the product to visualize and improve the overall user experience by specifically pointing out the areas of enhancement. How that happens is what you see here. So you can see that there are user actions. So this is a template which I have put. I have not really created. You could put persona on the top. You could talk about a specific scenario that you're talking about or a specific product that you're talking about. What actions does user take? What are their touch points? So if we talk about, let's say, an e-commerce uh, uh, organization, let's say, which is into the world of selling educational toys. Now, what is happening is that the users are becoming aware that there's a website or there's a company which is into the world of educational toys. They are considering, they are visiting their web pages, they are visiting their collections, their pivots, they are making a purchase. And then, of course, they get those products, and if they like it, they pass feedback and they become advocates. Now, each of this step, there is an awareness happening probably through a site which is backlinked to the website, or there could be another user which is talking positively about it, or there could be a campaign that is being run by the company. So, like this, you identify what could be the possible touch points where the persona could interact with the organization or the product. And what is even more important is the next stage, which is where we try and identify their emotions. So, are they happy? What are their happy feelings when they are in each stage of their interaction with the product? What do they like? What do they dislike? What are they okay with? We could even create sticky notes at each of these stages instead of the smileys that you see on the template. And we could also pen down their pain points very specifically. And the role of product managers is to address those pain points at each of the steps, which will improve the user experience, and also identify what are those situations or emotions when I mean, which is when they are okay with what they are interacting. So they're not happy, they're not sad, but they are kind of okay with, which are also possible areas of improvement for those touch points when they interact with the product. So this is how the journey map really helps in identifying the areas at each stage where we can improve the user experience when they interact with the product. So, coming to the last part, a quick recap. So, we did talk about what market segmentation is. We talked about various kinds of market segmentation and the subsets and the possible subsets of doing those segmentation. We looked at certain examples for you to better understand how the market segmentation really works. Uh, then we talked about design thinking. We looked at the principles which inspire design thinking as a process, and we went through the entire process. I did briefly touch upon how it links to the way certain frameworks such as SAFe talk about design thinking, which is similar. Probably the representation is a bit different. Uh, uh, a little bit on the second point. So I've had the opportunity of utilizing market segmentation to have a successful product, which was sort of going down the failure route to actually go back to the success route, because we actually used market segmentation. So to give you an idea what really happened there, this is basically about sharing a success story for you to understand how these tools could be super helpful. So there was a product which we were promoting, which was a net tech product to the schools and colleges, made by the flagship institute of technology in India, which was, of course, adopted by the flagship institutes. But then it started to lose its charm over a period of time, and we thought that probably it's in the product life cycle. We're sort of seeing the last part of it. But then we realized that there are certain segments we were not touching. So, as an outcome of the brainstorming exercise, as an outcome of the market segmentation exercise, we worked around affordable private schools and the schools who were based in areas where there was limited infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And we attempted as an experimentation exercise to focus on those, which was really helpful and sort of helped us revitalize the product and its acceptance in the market. So, I mean, if you use these tools appropriately, irrespective of where we are in the product life cycle, it could be super helpful and powerful as the tools. Uh, from a conclusion point of view, I would like to say that I really encourage learning. I would say that this was probably like an introduction to the subjects that we talked. I mean, there are courses around each of these subjects. Actually, there is an MIT-based course on design thinking, which you can invest your time into. Very helpful. So continue to learn, continue to invest your time, effort, and money into the learning exercises. IBC is doing a great job by organizing these webinars, which is sort of helping us have some understanding about the topics which various trainers are covering. And I would like to conclude by this quote from Steve Jobs, which is, design is not just what it looks like and it feels like. It is how it really works. So, reaffirming the importance of the user experience is what Steve Jobs does here. And yeah, so thank you very much for attending this session. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. I hope this helped you understand these subjects a little bit, and feel free to reach out to me in case you need to, and IBC for your learning requirements. So I've got a question from Mr. Dominic. Is Miro the only tool we can use? Uh, no, Miro is a great tool that I like using. But of course, there are tons of tools which are available which support the design thinking process, different stages. You could be using I mean, Lucid Spark, which is another tool. You could be using various flowchart tools as well, like Lucid Chart or others. Uh, uh, so I can actually provide those links to Prabha. I think she should be there on this call as well. She is not. But I'll provide these links. Dominic, I'll be happy to provide some of the tool links to Prabha, and or I would request you to, if possible, just send out an email. Go to my website as you see on the screen right now, or write to me at amanluthra.agile@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to respond with some tools that I prefer for this process. Thank you for asking this question. I've got another one. As a new product developer, do I start data gathering from scratch, or can I leverage existing data? Great question. So I would say that in terms of data gathering, if you are a new product manager, there are various ways of doing data gathering. I mean, I think we are actually talking about a subject of research and data gathering, which could involve primary research and secondary research. So when we talk primary research, this is where we can actually do that data gathering, which you are referring to, but that's expensive, that's time taking, but that's definitely getting the first hand inputs. But at the same time, there are tons of secondary data which is usually available. It could be an outcome of the research conducted by some professional organizations. In most circumstances, they are available either free or at a cost. The libraries are there, so it's recommended that we invest some time, utilize the secondary data, and if needed, we could use the primary data as well. So yeah, a combination of both, but this is probably including a lot of variabilities. So yeah, I see Chanchala raising hand. Yes, Chanchala,
Yes.
please
So
go
this
ahead.
is in continuation with the question I posted actually in the
Sure.
messages. So like you mentioned that there, about the secondary data because as an organization we may not have all that funds to do a primary research.
Right.
So but then what are different kinds of availing this data? Like do we have to approach professional marketing organizations or what are the different channels available, different sources available there?
Sure, sure. So, thanks for that question. What happens if we have budgetary constraints vis-a-vis data gathering? There are also these days lots of open source resources which are available, which could help us with the data. For example, I was working with an organization with a similar concern, uh, who were into import and export of lot of things, and they wanted to gather data around the products which were exported to a certain country with certain HSN, and it was tricky because they were definitely getting that data, but they were getting it from paid sources, which was not something that they were willing to do at that stage because they were more in the research and they did not have the budgets to support that. So there were government websites, and there are websites in different countries. One website which we came across was Trade Map, which where you could actually select from filters from which country you want to export and from in which country do you want to import. You put in the HSN code for the product that you're wanting to import or export, and you find the data which is available in the public domain, absolutely free of cost. So for the secondary data, I would encourage that and I would also suggest a possible easier way to find out some of those websites could be using some AI tools. Like these days, we are talking Chat GPT. In UK, we are also using something called as Claude 2. One of the easier way is to just ask one of these chat-based AI tools as to what are some of the you are an expert on this subject. Put that up and ask them what are the top 10 tools, free and paid, which could help us access this data, and you're likely going to have it relatively easier way. But so it's a mix. Definitely, there are tools which are available which can provide us with tons of data, relatively free. Uh, but it's also a function of what really we are looking at in the context of the industry. The, it's of course quite detailed. But thank you for asking. I hope that helped. Uh,
Do I have, can you have one more last question? Basically, quick question. So, this is related to the same thing that we are discussing.
sure.
What if like it's not like sometimes the public data available gets very heavily filtered basically because of laws, local laws, and like a lot of regulations and governance. So, how do I in that case avail genuine data set? Like, so is it available for sales? Like, how do I find? Are there any tools and techniques basically?
Yeah, yeah. As I said, so if there are no budgetary constraints, then
Mhm.
definitely there are organizations who actually conduct primary research, and they then create those reports and they sell those reports, which
Mhm.
has the data, and I would say more of an analysis of that data as well, which is what ultimately most of us are looking at. So yes, they are available, but I would request if you're looking for something specific, because this is uh, quite a wide question, if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense. If you're looking for something specific, and if you think I can help, I would request you just mail me what
sure,
exactly you're looking
sure.
for, and I'll try to answer that with whatever knowledge and might that I have, if I can support you on that.
Yeah.
But thank you for
Awesome.
that
Thank
question.
you. Thank you
Uh,
so
uh,
much.
Yeah, I have another one. I mean, Mr. or Mrs. Shekhar,
Yeah.
Shaju
Hi.
Shekhar. Hi, Shaju.
Hi. So, again, this is kind of a question related to your experience in design thinking. What do you suggest would be a ideal time that would be spent on design thinking, and at what point would uh, the product managers and the stakeholders need to start or think about hiring people on the execution level? Um, so what is the duration for design thinking, and with all these different steps, right? Journey map, empathy maps, and all that stuff.
Sure. Okay. So, thank you for the question, Shaju. I think that's a great question. I would just, I mean, put the context to my answer first. That I mean, if you want to figure out when we want to engage in the process of design thinking, I would say that it could be in multiple places. So let's first look at the product life cycle. So if we are at the beginning of the product life cycle, if we are trying to create a new product, then definitely it makes immense sense because we are sort of might be wanting to create a minimum viable product, which means that we should likely understand our customer first well, to the level where we prototype and test before we sort of think of investing further in that direction. But design thinking is equally relevant if we talk about uh, improving our product as well. So it's uh, let's say we are somewhere in the middle of the product life cycle where we are I mean possibly foreseeing a decline if we don't innovate. If we force I mean see a need for innovation, then or let's say if we are product managers and we are finding a spike in customer issues via the feedback that we are receiving, it would be highly relevant to sort of consider something like that. And in terms of hiring resources, I would say that uh, consider a couple of things. In case we need experts, then of course it'll be relevant to hire them. You could also consider hiring consultant because most of the answers are actually within the team. So anybody who you might hire might provide you intelligence on the utilization of tool, but they will likely not understand the problem as well as you and your team. So you might want to consider organizing those teams in a way that you sort of form kind of a core team, which gets into those brainstorming discussions, and which could then the outcome of those discussions or those brainstorming sessions could be maybe organizing another team and work on this as I mean in the world of safe we might say that we have a dedicated team who works as an agile release train, or maybe just an agile team. It works around the PI planning and over the next quarter work on tons of spikes and help us come to a stage where we better understand our customer and at least we have a visibility around what we will work on from the following PIs, which would be, of course, based on the outcome of the design thinking that we would have done over a quarter. So yeah, I mean, I think given the paucity of time and given the context, I think this is something that I would like to say. But if you have any specific questions, like I said to the lady, more than happy to answer if you would like to mail it to me, and I can try to answer in your context.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, any other questions from anybody else?
Yes, I posted a question like the template. I don't know if you call it templates or that you use for design thinking, like the empathy map, the persona. Can you share those ones with us?
Sure, sure. So, if I may also just request you to write an email because I'm not having those. I mean, I'll have to just pull up those URLs and mail it to you. So if you would just like to, so I'll put my email ID on the chat for everybody. I think that'll make it easier.
Okay, if you can send your email and then I will just send you an email.
That'll
Then
be
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be more than
I
happy
think
to.
you have it on the slide right away there. So yeah, you can send it so we can
Yeah,
copy
so
it.
my slide has the URL to the introduction website. But if you go to the contact us page, you will find my email ID as well, the same which I shared with you just on the chat. So more than happy to share some of the templates. There are many, and there are different templates which are used by different frameworks, different consultants. But I'll be more than happy to give you a visibility around. One, of course, I can share a couple of templates, but I could also share where can you find more. So you find the right one in your context, because it could vary as to what will find more relevance in your context. So I'll be more than happy to share those possibilities as well.
Thank you. We
Thank
appreciate it.
thank you. Great. So I think it was a great discussion and the end of the call. Thank you all for your questions, and thank you all for joining in. As I
Thank
said,
you very much.
it was a pleasure, and hopefully I was able to add some value to your existing knowledge. And of course, this is just a tip of the iceberg. These are subjects on their own. There are books written on these subjects. So my only request suggestion would be, sort of, don't let this learning stop. And thank you so much once again for joining in, and wish you all the best. Take care.
Thank you, Aman.
Thank you.